Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Hong Konger on the home side, half Japanese on the away side, and both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel before, albeit the Japanese brewery only once I think so far, whereas the Hong Kong brewery has featured quite a few times. But when it comes to the Hong Kong brewery, I would say that they are best known for their different kinds of lager beers, but they are very solid all round in my experience. And the Japanese brewery are one of the relative newcomers to the local beer scene. They've built a very good reputation for themselves, and this brewery I think are quite well rounded. They like to do a lot of different styles. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is part of a collaborative series on the part of the home brewery. They release a new beer from this one every kind of month or two, and they're always quite interesting actually. It's a style that I've tried from this brewery or both breweries before, and one that I know both can do very, very well. So I'm quite curious to see what happens when you put them together. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, for the home side of things, we're going to head over to Hong Kong Island. We're going to go to the south side of the island to Wong, Chuk, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Young Master Brewery. So this particular beer is called Tidal Haze. It comes in at 6% ABV. It's another New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA, and this one is brewed in collaboration with Black Tide Brewing, who are from Miyagi Prefecture, Kesennuma to be precise, in the Tohoku region in the northern part of Japan. So this is their second or third appearance on the channel, if memory serves me correctly. But yeah, another addition to Young Master's collaborative IPA series that they do. From what I understand, this one is supposed to be pretty good. I've heard good things about it. So yeah, let's crack on then and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Young Master Brewery and from Black Tide Brewing, and we will no doubt add more to both of those lists at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this particular beer in the Hong Kong playlist and the Japanese playlist, and those two lists will be added to as we review more beers from those places, and we will do that quite frequently since I'm now based out in Asia. But yeah, do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very, very interesting things on at the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Young Master Brewery first off then, since they are the home brewery in this case. So yeah, Young Master Brewery was founded back in 2013 by Rohit Dugar, who is originally from New Delhi in India. So he moved from New York to Hong Kong in 2011, and he worked for Goldman Sachs for quite a few years before deciding to quit and found his own microbrewery. And of course he was exposed to the craft beer culture over in America. But he was joined at the brewery in the early days by the German brewer Ulrich Altbauer, who had quite an extensive experience of brewing in China, and he was the master brewer originally, but he sadly died in 2016, just as they were about to move, or just as they had moved factory, if I'm not mistaken. But the current brew team is Edwin and Brian, and both of these guys have worked for the brewery for quite a few years. The first brewery they had was in Ap Lai Chau, which is a little island just off the south coast of Hong Kong Island, and in this facility they had a 10 hectolitre brew house, and this acted as their main production until mid-2016. So they opened up a new brewery in Wong Chuk Hang with a 40 hectolitre brew house from GEA in Germany, as well as a larger barrel aging area, and they actually bought a fodder as well for producing sour beers, and they were the very first brewery apparently in Asia to do this. So they brew around 15,000 litres per month at the moment from what I understand. That figure could be a little bit out of date, so I will try and update that at some point in the future. But they've got several tap rooms around as well. They've got TAP in Mongkok. There used to be a second one in Sheungwan, of course. They've got Second Draft at Victoria Park here in Hong Kong as well. Pub 1842 in Central, which I still need to go and visit. There was also Alvy's in Kennedy Town, which did some really, really nice pizza. Unfortunately, that shut down fairly recently as well. And there's also the Guild in Singapore, which is quite nice, a really interesting kind of circular bar actually. But today, these guys are the largest craft brewery by volume in Hong Kong, and they're also the most decorated craft brewery here as well actually. But as of September 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 280 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and they now employ about 20 people from what I understand. So yeah, definitely one of the Hong Kong breweries you need to check out. My favourite beer from these guys is probably their Oktoberfest Merz, and I love going to I do love going to Second Draft and having a nice big tankard of that when October comes out. We're getting quite close to that now, so pretty damn excited actually. But yeah, that's everything I can really tell you about Young Master Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on to the Japanese side of things then. We'll head over to Miyagi Prefecture. So like I mentioned to you earlier, Untappd Brewing are based in Kesennuma in Miyagi Prefecture, which you'll find in the kind of Sendai area in Tohoku, in the northern part of Honshu, the main island of Japan. And this area was completely devastated during the tsunami of 2011, and Kesennuma was particularly affected because the inner bay was destroyed and the town had really been well known for its fishing industry. So yeah, really bad times for this place. But in the aftermath, local businessman Akihiko Sugawara put out a call to arms to get people to come from across Japan to Kesennuma and help the town rebuild. But he was joined by Hiromasa Kokubun, who was a town developer from Hokkaido, Tomoyoshi Sen, a restaurateur from Tokyo, and Nohiro Tajima, a publisher and craft beer enthusiast. So together they formed the base of Untappd Brewing, which was officially founded back in 2019. James Watney though is the main man behind the brewing. He's a PhD chemist and had 13 years of brewing experience, having previously worked for Culmination Brewing in Portland over in Oregon in the Pacific Northwest in the US. But he also worked for Ise Kadoya in Ise in Mie Prefecture as well, and those guys are one of the really kind of old school, kind of pioneering Japanese craft breweries. But he was living in Oregon and he wanted to move to small town Japan, and he quickly fell in love with Kesennuma and decided that he wanted to join Untappd as their brewer. So yeah, the team at the brewery is completed by Kazuya Tanji, who discovered Kesennuma while volunteering after the earthquake, and he is now the sales manager of the company. But they completed the construction of their brewery toward the end of 2019, and they've got a small on-site tap room which opened in the December of that year. But over the last few years, they've gradually upgraded the brewery infrastructure and developed new recipes, and they've been getting their beers out there a little bit more across Japan. And like I said to you, these guys do seem to try quite a wide variety of different styles. But as of September 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 215 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and yeah, they are fairly accessible these days. I quite often see their beers in Osaka when I'm over there. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Untappd Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that they've done. But definitely one of the kind of up and coming Japanese craft breweries at the moment, I would say. So yeah, let's go on and actually have a little look at the beer itself. That's your history section covered. So yeah, I'll just let you have a wee look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. So as you can see, it has the Young Master pants on the front, as they call the trousers, as I would call it. But yeah, it seems they go with the more American pants. But you can see at the top there is the Young Master symbol, and there is your Untappd Brewing logo, of course, as well. Like I mentioned earlier, this one comes in at 6% ABV. It's a New England Hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA, and this one was Young Master's August release through Circle K. They've always got a new beer in Circle K every month actually, which is always quite interesting. But yeah, it says on the side here, an electrifying release crashing upon the shores of Hong Kong. Tidal Haze is a collaboration with Black Tide from Kesennuma, shining a radiant golden hue. This hazy IPA unleashes a mighty wave of grapefruit and tropical fruit notes, accompanied by delicate floral nuances, elegantly culminating in a lush and pillowy mouthfeel. It's pretty nice. But yeah, let's get this guy out then into the glass and see how we go. I've been quite curious about this one since I picked it up actually. This should be pretty nice. So, let's do this. Yeah, nothing overly surprising about that appearance, I have to say, but it looks good. So, yeah, there you are. So before the head disappears on this one, we can see that it poured with maybe about a 2/3 finger of a kind of soapy, slightly cream coloured head there. You can see medium sized bubbles sitting on the surface of the liquid there, and it gets a little bit bigger the further up that you go. But yeah, it's looks pretty nice, this one actually. So in terms of colour, I would describe this one as being a bit akin to mango juice. I always like comparing New England IPAs to different kinds of fruit juice because that's just what their appearance reminds me of. But remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well, but you don't often have to care about that when it comes to different kinds of IPAs, of course. But yeah, this one, it's certainly not the soupiest and gloopiest of New England IPAs I've come across. We do have to remember it is only 6%, of course, but you can see, if I shine the light through this one, it does, for a 6%er, it's not too bad actually in that haze department. But remember, the level of haze depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. That can vary from brewery to brewery and beer to beer. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation with this one, I have to say, and you can see the head has just faded away, be a little bit of a kind of wispy layer, and you've got that nice kind of ring going around the edge of the glass there as well. But all in all, it looks pretty nice, this one, and pretty much what you would expect from the New England IPA style. So yeah, let's have a little look at the nose of this one then and see what it's all about. I'm very, very curious about this beer, of course. Yeah, that one smells really, really nice. Yeah, a bit more kind of citrusy leaning, I would say. And it's got just got a little bit of pungency to it, which is good too. But of course, it will be pretty fresh. We are at the very start of September though when I'm filming this one, and it was released in August. I didn't get back until toward late August actually. But yeah, this one, it is pretty nice. So as I've often said in IPA reviews, for me there are 6 elements to think about when it comes to drinking this beer style. So you have the kind of rye leaning grainy side of things and the kind of farmhousey yeasty characters. Those are a little bit more prominent in American brewed New England IPAs. You've got wheaty bitiness, barley malt bread, oaty creaminess, and also sweetness in there. This one for me actually comes across as being more barley malt and a little bit more wheaty, I would say, leaning toward that end of the spectrum. Especially when you sugar it up, you start to get more of the wheat, but you do get a wee bit of the graininess, I think, from the yeast in this one. But yeah, aroma-wise, it's pretty nice. I'm curious to see how that's going to translate into the actual flavour, because sometimes these beers, they can lean a completely different way in the flavour from the aroma. But yeah, interesting stuff. So let's do as we always do. We'll break the aroma down and describe it for you more in depth before we taste the thing. So yeah, backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely little bit of kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. There's a little touch of woodiness and a little touch of cracker, as you very often get, but there's a wee bit of there's certainly a wee bit of brown bread coming out of this beer, which is really nice. So yeah, a little touch of brown bread in there. More kind of white bready character coming out of that as well. The white bread comes across as being quite fluffy and quite airy almost. So yeah, really quite like how that goes together. Fluffy and airy white bread in there. and that's the barley malt, of course. But above that, you can smell the wheat, and I think the more that you smell of this beer, the more pungent the wheat becomes. At the back of the nose, you get that little bit of bitiness out of the wheat, which is quite interesting. You can also smell that more dense. You can also smell that more dense white bready character coming out of it as well. But you've got some really nice kind of oaty, creamy characters coming out of this one as well. And as I've often said, oats are quite a good indicator of how fresh your New England IPA is. Essentially, the creamier they are, the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older it is. But you do have to remember as well that oats from different parts of the world will taste slightly different. American oats, in my experience, tend to be a little bit more kind of like porridgey when you put them in a New England IPA. European oats are a bit more creamy, and likewise wheat is the same. European wheat is a bit more bitey, American wheat is a bit more smooth, and of course the Australians are producing stuff as well that's going into beers quite often these days. So all stuff that you need to think about. But yeah, the oaty side of this beer, there's a little bit of creaminess to it, but the oats, I don't think the oats are overly prominent in this one. I think we're going to get more of them in the actual flavour of the beer, in honesty, because they are there. They do smell quite smooth, but they're smelling a wee bit drier. But I think that's maybe to do with the kind of pungency of the wheat, in all honesty. So yeah, that's quite an interesting point about this one. But yeah, there's a little bit of kind of Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch coming out of this beer. A little touch of biscuit as well, but not overly much. As I say, at the back of the nose you get more of the kind of wheaty bitiness, some of the yeasty characters in there. It's got a little bit of like a crackery note to it, and a little touch of kind of just like rusticy, farmhousey bread almost. But then, yeah, I think after that we've said everything we need about the malty, yeasty side of the beer. Let's go on to the hoppy side of things then. So, as I've often said, when it comes to IPAs, you have three types of hoppings that you can do. You can do early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil usually. That gives you the majority of your bitterness and a deeper, danker flavour and aroma. You've got late addition hopping, which takes place within the last half hour of the wort boil usually. That gives you a little bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, and a more kind of bright green component. And then you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil, and you can say the same about that as you would about late addition hopping, except you get no bitterness basically. New England IPAs tend to rely on late addition and dry hopping. West Coast IPAs use all three, which is why New England IPAs are softer and more juicy. West Coast IPAs have that kind of deeper, danker quality to them. So with this beer, you do of course get that nice big green component to it, and it's not madly pungent, in honesty, which is quite interesting. But yeah, there's a little touch of earthiness in there, but of course the majority of your green component is quite floral in this one. You do get a little bit of a more zesty grassiness at the front of the nose, I would say. So yeah, a little bit of zesty grassiness at the front of the nose, and yeah, there's a wee bit of yeah, kind of more soft, juicy, fruity character coming out of this one. So yeah, I like how that yeah, I do like how that pieces together actually. It's quite nice. The green component adds a little bit more depth to the beer. In terms of the fruity side of things with this one, like I said in the beginning, it came across as being a bit more citric, I would say, but then yeah, it was a little bit more citric, but you start to get more tropical note out of this one, in fact. So I'm thinking that maybe this is it's something familiar. I do wonder, is it maybe a bit of Galaxy in this? Maybe Galaxy in Idaho 7 potentially, because it's got some nice soft tropical fruits, but it does have a wee bit more pungency to it as well. So yeah, aroma-wise on that side of things, it's quite nice. There is a wee touch of grapefruit there, and I'm getting a wee bit of like peachy sharpness in the top of the nose, but lots of juicy mango, bit of apricot and pineapple, right enough, and there is just a wee bit of a more kind of zesty lemony or limey character coming out of this. So yeah, the way that all of that goes together, I think, is pretty nice. So yeah, all in all, the way it goes together is pretty nice. But yeah, the more that I smell of it too, I'm getting more of this kind of farmhousey type thing. slightly like vegetally, rusticy bread sort of thing from the yeast. So yeah, interesting. So as I always say, take a little bit of time to just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think it is about time that we try this one and see what it's all about. So yeah, this is Tidal Haze, brewed by Young Master in Wong, Chuk on Hong Kong Island here in the Hong Kong SAR, in collaboration with Untappd Brewing from Kesennuma, Miyagi Prefecture in the Tohoku region of Honshu in northern Japan. 6% New England IPA. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers, kanpai. Ooh. That's interesting. Very nice, light, easy drinking New England IPA action. That's something you often have to say about Young Master, is that their mouthfeels are always very nice. That's just such a light, easy drinking beer, this one. It does actually have a little bit of that sort of graininess and rusticy bready character that I was talking about. Must be coming from the yeast, actually. But yeah, this one actually does have a little bit more of that. It has a little bit more of that kind of farmhousey character to it almost, and it's interesting to talk about that, because if you go back to the original New England IPAs, they were that. They were like farmhouse IPAs. They had that little bit of kind of saison-y, rusticy bready character to them. You know, Alchemist Brewing would be one of the ones to think about there, actually, and Lawson's Finest Liquids have a little bit of that to them as well. So yeah, kind of interesting, this one, quite different to the other New Englands that I can remember having had from Young Master, actually, and I've only had one, I think, from Untappd, so I can't really comment on that, but still really solid beer, this one. I do wonder if Untappd brewed their own version of this as well, so that's interesting to think about. So, yeah, where do we go with this one then? But yeah, really soft, and it's quite a wet New England IPA at that as well, but really pretty enjoyable. But let's break the flavour down then and describe it for you more in depth, as we always do. Middle third of your palate then. The backbone of the beer has this lovely kind of brown bready, bread crusty character in there. The way that that goes together is really, really nice. So yeah, lovely rusticy, brown bready bread crust there. As you move further forward on the palate, you get a little touch of like woodiness coming out of this one, which is great. So you've got that lovely little bit of woody character in there. Some nice, as I say, so you've got that nice little bit of kind of Jacob's. You've got a nice little bit of Jacob's cream cracker sitting on top of that almost, which is good. And then you start to get the bready side of the beer. So for me, the breadiness, yeah, above the cracker, there's maybe a slight layer of like a kind of wholemeal, brown bready character to it, which is nice. So yeah, wholemeal kind of brown bready character in there. And then above that, you start to get the white bready notes, actually. So yeah, the white bready notes, the bread in this beer actually has quite a little bit of density to it, which is interesting. So yeah, you've got the brown bread, the white bread, and then above that you get the wheat, and the wheat has the wheaty white bread has quite a density to it, but it's very smooth, so I'm wondering if it is American wheat that's been used in this one. Which in the case, if that is the case, that's quite interesting for Young Master, because I know that they do like German ingredients, in fact. So yeah, but it does feel a little bit more like American wheat, in all honesty. Above that more dense wheaty white bready layer, you start to feel the oats, and this beer isn't too oaty leaning, but that said, I think the oats, if you go down the middle line of your palate, you can feel there is a bit of that oaty creaminess there, and as you move out toward the edge of the palate, it does give you a little bit more of a kind of porridgey thing. So I'm wondering, maybe American oats in this one. Yeah, a few little bits of food for thought in this. The other thing I would add is that this beer isn't, it's not overly sweet in that sense. There's a little touch, if you go to the very dead centre of the middle third of your palate. You've got that little bit of like Werther's original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing coming out of it, and you've also got a wee bit of a kind of biscuity character surrounding that, which is nice. So yeah, a little bit of biscuity notes surrounding that Werther's original butter candy, butterscotch in the middle, and yeah, I have to say I do like how that that kind of pieces together in this one. Other than saying that you get a bit more kind of graininess and woodiness out of the beer into the aftertaste in that middle third of the palate, I don't know if there's really anything else to add to that. So yeah, interesting. Definitely interesting stuff to think about here. So yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about that. On the back third of your palate then, as I've often said, the back third of your palate will give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. And do remember that generally speaking, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, whereas more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. But yeah, border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. You can see there's like a bit of brown bread in the base, the white bread on top, then a wee bit of the kind of wheaty bitiness in there. I do wonder, could there be a little touch of Pilsner malt in this actually as well? Wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, the backbone of that back third of your palate, again, it's the kind of white brown bready bread crust. You've got the cracker in there. The brown bready layer feels a little bit lighter, taller, more airy and drier. Then above that you've got the more kind of white bready layer, which again feels a little bit lighter, taller, airy and drier. And then yeah, above that you have the kind of wheaty character coming out of this one, which is a wee bit more bitey, I would say as well. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together in this one is really quite nice. And then above everything else you've got the yeasty character coming out of the beer. So for me, the yeasty side of things is quite interesting in this one. So let's just focus on that a little bit, because this beer, it really does have a wee bit more of that almost farmhousey IPA vibe to it. So yeah, the yeasty character, at the centre of it you've got this nice kind of brown bready character. So yeah, you've got that little bit of kind of brown bready character in the middle, which does get grainier and grainier into the aftertaste actually, and then you can feel another more grainy farmhousey bread around the edge of it. Then yeah, you've got a wee bit of a more kind of crackery, woody, bread crusty character around the edge of it. So yeah, the yeasty side of this beer really is quite brown bready and kind of rusticy and farmhousey in a sense. It does remind me of like the Alchemist and Lawson's Finest Liquids IPAs in a way, what the old school New England IPAs were like. So yeah, interesting stuff. But definitely, yeah, back third of your palate you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way it goes together I think is really, really nice in this one. Good malty base in this beer, which is often underestimated. But yeah, hoppy side of things, it's definitely not the most bitter of New England IPAs either, but your green component, there's definitely a wee bit of earthiness in there, which builds a good bridge with the that more kind of farmhousey vibe that the beer has. But yeah, as you move further forward, it's got a little bit of like a herbally, vegetally sort of thing, and as you reach the kind of front corners of your tongue, it's more sort of floral and oily. But round the front curve of your tongue, the beer is like a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. A little touch zesty as well, which I think is quite interesting. So yeah. So yeah, and that's everything we need to say about the green component. Let's focus on the front third of your palate then. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. Brown bread in the base, the white bread on top, and then the more kind of wheaty, bitey sort of thing there. But the base of that front third of your palate, you've got some really nice, you've got some very, very nice kind of, I would say, bread crusty sort of notes in there. You've got a bit more crackery character in the brown bread, I think, comes out a wee bit more, and maybe there's a little bit of the kind of density from the wheat. But above that, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So for me, in that kind of fruity oily bubble, in that kind of fruity oily bubble, I would say at the back there is maybe like a little touch of a kind of quite bright grapefruit, a little bit of peach maybe as well. But as you move further forward from that, you do get some juicy mango, some softer passion fruit, some apricot and things. And as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, maybe there's a very, very slight kind of orangey character in this one. I'm trying to figure it out, it's a bit difficult actually. I remember that with the farmhousey IPAs, it's often quite difficult to pinpoint the hops in these because you've got that more grainy thing in the background. But yeah, the fruity hops in this one, could it be a little bit of Galaxy or Idaho? The Idaho 7 wouldn't surprise me with this one because the fruits are very, very soft, but Idaho 7 wouldn't necessarily give you the peach and the grapefruit in honesty, but the grapefruit isn't that strong at the same time. But yeah, Idaho 7 wouldn't surprise me with this one. It doesn't say what hops are in it either. But yeah, I don't know if there's really anything else we can say about the flavour of this one, but all in all, it's a really nice, like, solid, it's a really nice kind of solid New England IPA, this one. And I like how it shows you the more kind of farmhousey kind of character that these beers in the early days of their development used to have. So yeah, interesting stuff. Thumbs up to Black Tide and to Young Master for this. Let's round off the review then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. Yeah, so for me, the mouthfeel of this beer is interesting because it's kind of slick and oily, which I wasn't quite expecting. So yeah, nice kind of slick, oily mouthfeel coming out of the beer. Carbonation is quite soft in a way, so yeah, soft carbonation, a little bit slick and a little bit oily. Quite wet, all in all, I would say. But yeah, the kind of slick, kind of oily, a little bit wetter. But yeah, I would say kind of mid-bodied, right in the middle of the spectrum. Like I say, it's quite a smooth and slick beer. IBU-wise, the bitterness does build a little bit with this one into the aftertaste, but I think it's a fairly standard 30-ish IBU beer. There's a wee bit of dryness out of this one, which you could obviously conflate with bitterness, that kind of farmhousey character coming out of it. So it has that little bit of dryness in the base. Your malt base, as I say, dry underneath, kind of smoother, but still kind of grainy in the middle, and a little touch sweet on top, but very, very minimal. The yeasty character actually gives you quite a bit of dryness out of the beer, and the fruity side of things is kind of wet and slick in a way. So yeah, all in all, the way that this goes together is really quite interesting, and and I think it's a beer that's made me think a little bit, which is what you want after 4,000 odd beer reviews. So big thumbs up to Young Master and Black Tide for this one. I think they've done a really, really good job with it. But yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. This has been a really nice beer to review. So this was the Tidal Haze, a 6% New England IPA from Young Master and Wong, Chuk on Hong Kong Island here in the Hong Kong SAR, brewed in collaboration with Black Tide Brewing from Kesennuma, Miyagi Prefecture, Tohoku, Honshu, Japan. So, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from both of these brews as well, and we will no doubt return to them again at some point in the very near future. But until the next time, slàinte, skål, cheers, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Ciao just now.